What's up, everybody? This is Manuel from Nerd Plays, and you know what? I'm tired of the mediocrity in video games. I'm tired of it. This is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now, but I never really knew or had a clear idea of how I want to go about talking about it. And I still don't know. I still don't know exactly what it is I'm going to say here. I just turned on the camera because I just got done playing PS5, or try to play a little bit of PS5 before I go to record a podcast. No Name Crew, so look us up on Twitch. And I went to play, and I went to put on my earphones, my 3D, I don't know what they're called, my 3D whatever earphones. These are Sony. These are made for the PS5 for 3D audio, which, by the way, 3D audio completely overrated. I really thought the reason why I bought this is because I wanted to have that experience. I really bought into the hype, thinking, oh, this is gonna be game changing or incredibly immersive. Not at all. Not at all. I went to put them on, and as you can see, broken. Not to mention the fact that they're already all messed up. I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but completely broken. They don't stay on my head anymore. Mind you, they've been cracked for a little while now, but they've been wearable. Today, obviously, they're just not usable anymore. Mind you, I've never stepped on these things. I've never dropped them. I've never mishandled them. I don't play for hours and hours on end. This is not due to simple usage. This is simply due to a lack of a high quality product that cost me like $100. This is not cheap. All right. So when I went to put on these earphones, I said, you know what? I've had it. There's been too many things going on in recent years, in recent months, especially in the video game world. And I'm tired of it. And I want to express myself in some way, even though I know most likely hardly anybody's going to watch this video. It's not really going to make a lot of difference, but you know what? I wanted to vent. And this earphone thing is just one, or headset, whatever you want to call them. This is just one symptom, just one example of many of what I'm calling the mediocrity in the video game world. And stuff that we're just apparently gamers are apparently just okay with, or we're just accepting it. We're not, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna change anytime soon. So I sat down, I started writing a few examples, like what exactly it is that I'm talking about. On the hardware side, we have this issue right here. I have issues with my Nintendo Switch. All right, the drift on the Nintendo Switch controllers, the Joy-Cons, that's notorious. Everybody knows that is a real issue. A friend of mine, he's bought like 4 sets of Joy-Cons, and they're all messed up. I have 2. I have 2 sets. Both of them are damaged. I can't even take them off of the Switch and play individually anymore because they just don't work that way. I can only play handheld mode. Completely unacceptable. And then I'm gonna go buy some new Joy-Cons. They cost like what, $70 for a set of Joy-Cons that I'm barely gonna use, and I know they're gonna get ruined anyway. Like, that's just unacceptable. I had the same issue with my PS5 controllers. All right, I have 2 sets of PS5 controllers because the originals, the ones that came with the PS5, started getting drift to the point where it was unplayable. So I bought some new ones. I bought a red controller, and a couple of months into it, same issue. I have drift on both controllers, and I'm not gonna go and spend another 70 or whatever how much it costs for a new controller, knowing full well that it most likely is just gonna develop the same problem again. That to me is just completely unacceptable. The Xbox, I have the Xbox Series X, and mind you, this is first world problems, right? The way they say, I know that I'm incredibly privileged and blessed to even have these consoles and to be playing. This is a privilege, and it's a privilege that I can do without, to be quite honest. I recognize that. So this is not me getting on my high horse and saying this needs to change. It's just me as a gamer, worried about the world that I love, the video game world that I love. I'm just worried that we're going down a path that is not consumer friendly. This is not a good path to go on. So that's why I'm mentioning all this stuff. I know there are way bigger problems in the world, much more important than what I'm talking about here. In my own life, I have issues that are way more important than what I'm talking about here. But you know what? I love video games. This is important to me. So this is what I'm doing here. My Xbox Series X, not to mention the fact that it has so many things that I don't like about it, like the UI. I know that's a personal problem. But for example, I don't know if it's called the Quick Start. I've never had I've never had the quick start, whatever it's called, suspended play, whatever, work properly. Every time I turn off the console and I leave the game open, when I go to turn it back on, it always says the game had to shut down or close for whatever reason, an error or whatever. So I'm always booting up the games from scratch. It never works the way it's supposed to work. Thank goodness that controller is good. I've never had issues with that controller, but come on, batteries? What's up with that? But then we go to the actual video game side. This is the part that really gets to me. We all know I'm most likely going to use the Redfall as part of the thumbnail for this video. So we all know by now the stuff that's going on with Arcane in that specific game and the issues it's come out with, not just the bad reviews, but the types of issues that are being mentioned, to me, completely unacceptable for a AAA game or whatever it is, however you want to classify that game. 30 frames per second, again, we've had 30 frame games for forever, right, and less. So I guess 60 frames is pretty much the standard now, but at least on consoles, I know it's way better on PC. So I guess 30 frames per second versus 60 frames per second, that's more of a criticism. That's more of a nitpick, I should say. It's not really that big of a deal. But again, it points to a larger problem. The fact that they're putting out products that are clearly unfinished. Oh, we're going to patch the 60 frames per second in the future. No, how about you give me a finished product day one, right? Not to mention the bugs, the glitches, the bad AI. This is all going on, the multiple reviews that I've read and videos and all that stuff. I have not played it because I let my Game Pass subscription expire and I don't want to pay just for that game. So right now I'm going to wait on it. But bad AI, not a lot of variety or things to do in terms of gameplay. That to me seems like an unfinished game. That's what it seems to me. Or a game that promised something and is not fulfilling that promise. If it was only that, or maybe a handful of games, wouldn't be an issue. But that's just the beginning. That's just one game. We had the same thing going on with Halo Infinite. Come on, that game was released, literally released, unfinished, with a large part of that game to be released in the future, which is the co-op. The co-op experience wasn't available on launch, and they scrapped the local co-op eventually, right? And I know that a lot of people like me, I like playing Halo with other people. So I was pretty much forced, in a sense, to play an unfinished product just because I didn't want to wait a year or whatever it is to finally play that game. I don't know. That doesn't bode well for me. Not to mention the online issues. They just didn't have a clear roadmap, it seems. They didn't have enough content there to keep people playing months after its release. So another example of an unfinished product. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is not my type of game. Everything that I've seen about this game and the Pokemon games as of recent, same issues, technical issues, bugs, terrible draw distance. It doesn't run well. Like, these are games that are just not polished, but they have to get them out in a certain date. Sonic Frontiers, my goodness, that game clearly needs a little more budget, a little more time. Like, the draw distance is horrible. I've never had such a bad experience in draw distance than I had with Sonic Frontiers. Not to mention, other technical issues that game has. Cyberpunk 2077, we don't even got to get into that, right? Everybody knows the mess that happened with that game and how that game was released. I played it recently after all this time, thinking that I might enjoy it, and immediately booting it up, I already had issues, bugs, and this is the multiple times it's been patched. It's the patched version, it's the PS5 version, and I still had issues. Going back further, No Man's Sky, we all know what happened with that game. Obviously, that's one of the few cases where it's been a redemption story. They kept working on it. But again, another example of a game that was released clearly in a state that it wasn't not meant to be released in. It was unfinished. And then the most recent example, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I'm actually waiting on this game, even though I really want to play it. But everything that I've heard about this game is just bad. Like, the game seems to be an incredible game, but is marred with so many technical issues, lack of polish, bugs, glitches, and crashes, and the PC port. People are saying this is the worst PC port in video game history. That's how bad it is. And these people put that game out like this. And people paid for that. Again, to me, unacceptable. And then, like, I mentioned a couple more here, just the GTA ports that we had not too long ago, riddled with issues as well. The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, horrible port as well, especially upon release. Like, we're just... Anthem, the way that game was shut down after so many promises, like, it seems like we're getting used to the fact that games upon release are not going to be finished yet. We have to give them time for them to patch things up, to clean things up, to fix things, to give us things that they promised us in trailers and interviews and all that stuff. Oh, we're going to give them to you in a later time. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of paying $70 or more or less, for unfinished products. Not to mention products that simply are unenjoyable for other reasons, right? God forbid that Tears of the Kingdom, for example, turns out to be a bad game. But that's a separate issue. Bad games, a separate issue from games that are simply unfinished, unpolished, full of issues. And I understand that all games might have issues. I understand you can't predict all of it and fix it, all of it. But it seems to me that we're in a time where companies, publishers, developers, whatever, are so, I don't know what it is, to be honest, because I'm not in the industry, but it feels like there are certain games, especially these big AAA games, that have so many aspects to it apart from the game in terms of marketing, other stuff they want to sell, etc. And that is forcing them to put out these games within a certain time frame. You can't delay it anymore because that's money that they got to spend. That's money that they've already spent and they can't get back. You can't put it out early, obviously, because that's even worse. So they're forced to put it out in certain dates when the product is clearly unfinished. And us as gamers, we continue to buy the product day one. We continue to, a lot of people like me, we criticize it, but then we go around and we still pre-order games. We still buy games. These companies are still doing it. And it's like, to me, it's unacceptable. Every review that I've read and watched on Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it gets me angry. It reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077, where most of the reviews were like, oh, this is a great game, but it's marred with all these issues. Like, no, don't even call it a great game anymore. Call it for what it is and tell people you should not buy this game. This is unacceptable. And it bothers me that the reviews for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, pretty much 8, 9s, and 10s, but every single review says, oh, I had a bunch of issues here, it crashed here, I lost my save here, the bugs, glitches, weird characters just disappearing, and I had all these issues, not on top of the actual game's issues, because we all know that the first one also had issues in terms of polish, like it just didn't feel right all the time in terms of how the gameplay itself. On top of the regular game's issues, we have all of these other issues around it. It's still Game of the Year contender. To me, it's absurd. I don't care how good the core game is. We're getting an unfinished and unpolished product. And me as a gamer, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the mediocrity. I'm tired that this is the world that we are accepting. Games are expensive. Okay, they're not cheap. Obviously, there's a time in which games used to be more expensive, but in recent history, in my experience with video games, games are more expensive now than they used to be. For my experience, I know that there was a period in which they were actually more expensive, but they're expensive nonetheless. And again, this is a privilege thing. This is a thing I don't have to waste money on video games. This is a privilege game, a privilege thing. This is an enjoyment factor. But you know what? I want to enjoy these things, and I'm not enjoying them the way I wish we could. I wish I would. Not to mention that we're buying unfinished products, and many of which you have to pay and buy in-game products as well just to get the entire experience that you want out of the game. Unacceptable. We're at a point in time where something needs to change. I'm angry. I'm really, really annoyed. I'm bothered at stuff like this. You think I want to buy another set of these headphones just so they can break in a couple of months from regular usage? No. The answer is no. I don't want that. Something needs to change, man. This is just my thoughts. Tired of the mediocrity in video games. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Sorry for the negativity. I just had to get it out there. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this video, but obviously if you're watching it, I posted it. So hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss out on future videos. But most importantly, comment and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Till next time.